What's up? What's up, guys? My Flipside co-host, the lovely and talented Jason Brown, saw somebody, a friend that he didn't expect to see today, so he's going to join us in a minute. But until then, thank you for tuning into the Flipside. Love to answer your questions during the service, and I think we got some good ones and some tough ones today. Looking forward to it. First question. How is God about equality when he gives to everyone at different levels? Great question. Okay. This is so important because the answer to this question can unlock the mystery of so much of what we wonder about in the world. And that is, we have to understand the big story of the Bible. I'm actually going to talk about this in a message in a few weeks. I wrote this past week, and so I'm excited that this would come up. There are times where we understand what to do or how to live based on specific verses in the Bible, like today about generosity. There's no question there. There are other times when we look at bigger picture issues in the world, especially issues in society, where it can help us to look back at God's plan at the beginning and then look forward to where God is moving in history. Jason's here. And so when we think about equality, what I want to point you to is what God was doing in the very beginning, Genesis 1 and 2, before sin entered the world. Before sin entered the world, there was equality. There was no brokenness. Everyone had enough. Creation and humanity worked together in concert to provide for man and woman. That was God's intent from the beginning. There was no inequality. Then sin entered the world, and when sin entered the world, that's when inequality entered the world. Death entered the world, brokenness, division, and we live out this inequality all throughout our lives because of sin. Now, the question is, what did God do about that? He sent Jesus to what? To bear the ultimate inequality. What is unequal? What is inequality? It's that he who had no sin, Jesus, became sin for us so that we might have the righteousness of God. It's called the great exchange in theological terms, that he took all of our sin and we took all of his righteousness. Jesus bore inequality for us so that one day at the resurrection of the dead, when he returns and we are all raised to new life in Christ, like eternity, new heavens, new earth, there will be no inequality in the future. And we live in this in-between time. And I'm telling you, the more we can get this big story of the Bible, created for good, damaged by evil, restored for better, sent together to heal, the more we will understand and be able to have peace in our hearts. Because who are the ones now to help break down the practical inequality? It's the church. It's Christians. We're the ones who make incremental steps. But you know what's not equal? It's not equal that I don't live in Ukraine right now. I mean, can you imagine? You've seen this picture, like you've seen the pictures coming out of Ukraine. It's the middle of winter in Ukraine, and they are on the brink of war. And there are already, I was talking with a friend in intelligence this past week, there are already starving people in Ukraine. I mean, it is not equal. It is not fair. It is what happens when evil people enforce their will on others to their detriment. And so you're right, it is unequal. But capture it in the story of the scriptures. From beginning, what did God create in the beginning? What is he moving towards in the end? What is the church's role in the middle? It will help you with lots of these issues. So there you go. Thank you for asking that question. Hey, good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Just roll on. Number two. That was number one. Right. Yeah.
Eric, I'm trying to buy a home, but this market is crazy.
Facts.
How do I balance wanting to be responsible with my finances, because renting is more than a mortgage by far right now, while also moving forward with home buying right now?
Man, so I just want to say, I'll give you an opinion. I am not a real estate agent. I'm not a financial professional. Yeah. So please talk to your real estate agent, talk to a financial professional. Let me talk to you about how we think about this. So we moved last year. We paid over asking for our home. We paid a little over appraised value of our home. So for us, it was that we knew we were going to be there long term. And so it's like now was the best time because our home is only going to appreciate in value. Heck, it already has. So I would say buy what you can afford, right? That's the crazy thing about looking for homes is you set your price range and then, for just another 20 or another 30,000, another 50, and so pick your price range, figure out what you can afford, live in that, be content in what you have. And I would encourage you, but home is just such a great way to build equity and to build wealth. And so I'd encourage you to get a great real estate agent. But you gotta decide in advance how much you can afford. And I'll tell you, and we've just experienced this. Everybody experiences this. There's the buying of the home and like the monthly payment, but then there's all sorts of expenses that come with owning a home that you don't factor in, like increased utilities, lawn, buying a hose, buying a mower, fixing the mower, all that stuff. So just you can factor that in as well. But yeah, I would encourage you to buy. I'd encourage you to get in now, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen. And if you're in it for the long term, even if things go the other way, you still own a home. Interest rates are still relatively low. But talk to your real estate agent and your financial professional.
Yeah, that's great sound advice. Eric, I could probably speak more of it. I'm not going to because, but
let's keep rolling. It's good.
Eric, I've got a couple of kids, and I've reached the point where one needs a car because of after-school activities and working. Used and basic new cars are almost the same at this point. Am I sending the wrong message by buying a new car for my daughter? I want her to understand money, and I don't want to give her the wrong idea that we're overly wealthy by buying a new car instead of a used one. The price point is almost the same, which blows my mind.
Man, this is a really tough one because there's so many factors. So let's zoom out a little. Great, thank you. And I feel like I might accidentally, I don't mean to be offensive. I don't think I'm going to be, but anyway, just get nervous talking about finances when you can't actually know. So I think it's wise for in our world today, for most of us to recognize what our kids grow up with. And I think there is a lot of wisdom in having our kids do without things so that they can have the opportunity to have more and have some place to go in the future. So I love your discernment there. I love that question. Have you considered, obviously we want our kids to drive a safe car, but you could go with a 10-year-old car. That would probably be less. Like, just if this is a real question, because I do get it, right? Like, to put a 16-year-old in a brand new car could send that message. So that would be my thought. My thought would be just go with it. You can get a 10-year-old car. It will certainly be less. There are plenty of reliable 10-year-old cars out there. Or get a car that, is what, I have no idea what your price point is, $5,000 or $10,000 less than what you're thinking of spending. But I love your heart. I think there is some danger there. And I think we have to be careful, especially the more we have, right? It is throughout history. There is a generation that bootstraps and achieves wealth, and it is really hard for the next generation who grows up in wealth to appreciate it. It's almost impossible for them to truly appreciate it, but this seems like a really practical way. So I love it, and go with a 10-year-old car instead of a 3 or 4-year-old car, or do whatever it is you discern. I don't know. You got any thoughts?
No. Yeah, you may be asking. So I grew up with like mostly nothing, right? We weren't poor, but we certainly didn't have a lot, and whatever we had wasn't a lot. Things are much different now. I think the car can't be like the means to an end. Like if you buy a new car for your kid, right? Like that doesn't necessarily stop you from being a in parenting, right? Like, and being like, you can have new things and still be appreciative and still like understand the value. It's maybe a little bit harder at that point. But you can honestly, you have how many kids right now? Like you have 2 kids.
I'll tell you what we've done. I'll tell you what we've done with our kids. If this is helpful, and I don't mean this as like the example of what everybody has to do, because this is also all measured by how much you have, right? Yeah. If you can buy a new car for your child and pay cash and not have to have a car payment on it, or you can afford to do it, then hey, good for you. But for a lot of us, hey guys, so here's what we did. right now we bought my mom's car for Micah. It's an '09 Toyota Matrix. I don't know how many, 130,000 miles or so. So he's driving that, and he's going to give that to Lydia. And a buddy gave me his '98 Lexus. So Mike is going to be driving this '98 Lexus, and Lydia's going to be driving the '09 Matrix. And they're going to be fine. But the Matrix, my mom wanted to get it painted for Micah because it was from Phoenix, and so the paint is sort of not great on the hood. She wanted to get painted. I'm like, no, don't get it painted. I'm like, kid doesn't need to drive in a car that looks like it's brand new. That was my thought. I was like, no, I don't. It would have been, I don't know what, $1,000 to get it painted. I'm like, no, we don't need. He can drive. She can drive around in a car that looks a little old, sort of to this measure. So I would just lower the bar on the car you're going to get your kid. Yeah. Lower the bar. So anyway, all right, let's keep going.
All right, Eric, next question. How do we balance saving and preparing for the future and being generous to others?
All right, so go to Financial Peace University, number one, okay? Because I don't know if this person has $50,000 in debt and is totally upside down, or they have an abundance. First thing, you got to get a budget. You got to get a budget, and the first line in the budget, if you're just like starting, boom, 10% of the gross right off the top. And I would encourage you to prioritize your local church. It's just the pattern of the scriptures. So off the top, 10%, boom. Next, if you can afford, if this works, next 10%, and this is just general financial planning that I learned from others. Next 10%, short-term savings. Next 10%, long-term savings, live on the rest. If you're younger and you can save 15% of your income every year for retirement, then you are like in a ballpark on your way. But I'd say that's how you start. And the key is to budget and live within our budget, because life always expands for all of us. I mean, I remember, Jason has Kennedy's one, right?
Yeah.
One change, right? Diapers seemed expensive when you had to start buying them, right? Every parent thinks diapers are expensive. Every parent that has a 4-year-old realizes it was never cheaper than diapers. It only gets more expensive, right? Life just continues to get more expensive. So the key is, how do you wield in your spending? How do you simplify your lifestyle? And then just make these priorities. But you just honor God first. Like, where your treasure is, there your heart is. And then have a plan on a budget. If you're upside down, go to FPU. He will give you the steps, and you will be able to be generous to others. So there you go. I don't feel qualified to give any more advice.
It gets more
than
expensive?
that. Yeah, it's not going to be any less expensive than it is right now.
Man.
Not even close. It costs more to insure one teenager on a vehicle than it does for Ashley and I combined.
Get the used car. I'm just kidding.
No, well, I'll tell you, actually, secret, by having the '98 Lexus, like the '09 Matrix, still super expensive, but at some point when we got to that '98 Lexus, it actually did really help our rates. So go with a much older car.
I think that was it.
Discount double check there?
Discount double check. I'm just going to plop this up here. This was conveniently.
Oh, yeah. So GraceBible.Church/Grace. I heard from some people the QR code didn't work. The internet works. GraceBible.Church/Grace. That will help us.
Are we sure the internet still works?
As much as it ever has. Depends on what you mean by work.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Flipside. We would encourage everyone to stay connected with us via all of our social media platforms. Until next Sunday, we will see you after all the services. We will catch you then. Catch you on the Flipside. Take care.